So,
Russ, I'm Marc. Good to
Marc,
meet you.
nice to meet you. So, Marc, you have, welcome first of all.
Thanks, Russ.
You have, getting this business off the ground is just so interesting. It's a family business that started on an idea and whim by your father and your father Lloyd and mother Helen. How did that all come to be?
It was a bit of a retirement hobby that got out of hand. My mom and dad were retired from Bruce County farming, beef industry, and they were in that stage of life where there was still some needs of fulfilling their day, and they thought they'd start up a little, basically like a floating country inn was the concept. We did farm vacation guests on our farm throughout the 70s and into the early 80s, and the idea was born, we'll just take our farm vacation guests and take them for a boat ride. So our father contracted a concept of building a ship, and sort of along the lines of like a floating youth hostel kind of idea. And in 1982 we began construction on our farm of the Trent Voyageur, the predecessor to this operation, Kawartha Voyageur. And we set sail our first summer with 18 passengers, 5 crew members, a 48-foot vessel. Down the Trent Severn Waterway we went. I didn't even know what a lock was. I'd never seen one in my life. And it became a brand new world for our family too. The season was a huge success, mostly on the backs of our farm vacation guests that wanted to experience our offering on the water. And from there was born the second ship, and from there life got very complicated. Mom and Dad just about lost everything that they stood for. The company was getting going too fast. We were farmers. We weren't used to operating ships with Transport Canada as a regulator, and through the middle 80s it was a pretty turbulent time. The decision was made in 1987 to calm back down to one ship, and my parents would stay together on shore. I'd stay on the operation side of one ship, and away we went. Come 1989, we never looked back, and just sort of consolidated our resources and our capabilities, if you want to know the truth.
So there was at one point when your father retired, and you and your brother took over the business.
So I went seeking advice from my oldest brother upon my parents' decision that they wished to retire, because I was not interested in taking over the whole company. So my oldest brother was in banking with the CIBC, agrology department, and I asked him sort of how to look for a business partner. And that led to discussions around the potential of my brother joining our firm. And so they didn't quite give up the banking industry. They took a year leave of absence to see whether or not tourism businesses, Russ, isn't for everybody. And my brother wanted to test the waters to see whether he was up for this sort of challenge. So with my brother coming on stream and replacing my parents, yes, in the business side, but it was an entire family that we brought into the company. So, you know, the support, a family with young children and braces and new running shoes, like that became a real financial burden on our company. So we born the idea of expanding our company, but not to a second boat, build this vessel we had bigger. So part of my brother joining the company in 1993 was then subsequently us cutting the ship in half in 1995, adding to it, and in 2000 cutting the ship again and adding to our services. So our services today that you're on board is more than twice our original length, more than twice our original passenger count, but we are supporting now 2 complete family packs out of this family operation.
So that's all amazingly interesting for sure with the family business, and you've taken over, and this is a farming business. That was where you're all from. What was it like, or what did you do 25 years ago to market
so we relied
business?
We relied heavily on people with a lot of brains, and we found that that didn't work. We had a tremendous amount of failure marketing, because if you walked into a travel agency in 1986, there was huge signs that said Greece and that said Orlando, and that took people out of Canada and out of Ontario. And here we were trying to have an offering within Ontario, and the system of marketing tourism businesses was going the wrong direction. And we got rolled up in that, and Ontario Tourism took looks at how they could assist with us. And I'll tell you the truth, in 1989, a passenger here came to me and said, I have this little club. Would you come and talk to them? And no joke, Dr. Oliver, God bless him, is responsible for us changing directions on marketing our company. And he has a little club down just outside of Fort Myers, Florida. So I put together at that time a slide on a carousel of about, the ones that pop up and down, and I got in my Toyota Tercel, and I drove to Florida, and I made a 45-minute presentation about the Trent Severn Waterway. And I really didn't even talk about our company. I just showed them beautiful pictures of where we travel. Well, first of all, when I arrived at Fort Myers, his little travel club was about 300 people. And I wasn't prepared for that. I had spoken to a group of 20 in high school. So I met with these 300 people, and Dr. Oliver stood up after the presentation and extolled his personal thoughts of when he traveled with our family. Of 300 people in that room, 225 booked the following summer. And it filled our company, and we've never looked back since then. So my dad and I sat down, looked at the value of contacting people one-on-one with a story. Let them have not a brochure, not an advertisement, but get a 45-minute detailed explanation of why they're spending time in Central Ontario. And I went on the road and did slideshows from basically North Bay to Key West, and I would do about 30 slideshows a year through 1990, 91, 92, 93. When we operated the expanded boat in 95, we already had the passengers to fill the expanded boat. They were on waiting lists. So we built up a waiting list before we built the vessel to accommodate the people through the use of the slideshow circuit. I did slideshows up until 1999, Russ. 2000, I stopped doing slideshows. They're very expensive. They're very demanding of our personal time, the travel, the commitment to put the shows on. And we didn't do slideshows all the way to 2012. And in 2012, we looked at our overall group of passengers, and we have a large repeat clientele base, which is fantastic. But it's good to have some new blood coming into your organization, some people that don't know you because their neighbors were with you, just some adds to that wow factor within a new community. So I went back on the road for slideshows in 2013.
Yeah, I thought you still did them.
And we've just sort of restarted.
Okay, right.
And now I'm not doing the Key West and the Rochester. We're concentrating strictly on small town Ontario, and I do about 18 slideshows a year, mostly in March, late March, and that would probably be the single most the expense within our marketing budget is the slideshow circuit, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit
Yeah.
through your marketing and I guess through those early years of the business moving on, you used a lot of traditional methods to market your business, one-on-one, your slideshows, whatnot. Fantastic. Newspapers, whatever else. Now, so computers
Where does
came
it come?
into the mix. So how did you view the influx of computer language and marketing and whatnot? How did you first get involved with that? What was your decision making there?
Our company was approached by a young fellow in Ottawa. His family were half and half split between the software.com world with mom and dad as a lockmaster on the Rideau Canal. And this young man approached me in 1997, and he wanted to build our company a website. And it was his project at university. And his parents helped guide him to a company with no profile, and they chose us. Our first website of Ontario Waterway Cruises won the Ontario Tourism Award in 1998 for small business company in Ontario. And so that website was framed, he's now overseas in a world that I don't understand completely, but he's still in software development. Still totes around our first website as his first job ever. And I think at website development I paid him $500, and he was with me for about 3 months while he wrote the script on that. So from there we went to, I have a nephew that is in software development, and he built us a very robust website and maintained quite a few changes throughout the years up until last year. So it was still sort of homespun, Russ. We had a nice profile, we had some lovely pictures, we told quite an extensive story, a lot of prose. Our website resembled our brochure, so there was pages and pages and pages of reading. But our clientele truthfully do read that pages and pages, those that have internet capability. So then came the concept last year of utilizing the social media side, which is, I'm going to come back to your website in a moment.
Yeah, and I have a question about that.
Because we went down the concept of exchanging information with our partners that we're traveling through. So across Ontario, we have 39 municipalities along the Trent Severn Waterway and the Rideau Canal. And our concept was to engage our local municipality friends and partners to assist with their venues, whether there's a festival on or a sale at the local shoe store and then the ships coming in that day, then we would work those social media pieces together. So I engaged a young firm in the Aurelia area to put up a profile on a social media side of our company. So they looked at the program and came back to us and truthfully declined to work with us because they were concerned about where they would land traffic. And the traffic that would be generated through technology when it would come back to our office through multiple devices, through multiple platforms, how would we handle that as an office? And we weren't ready on the office side, nor was our website capable of any type of interaction to land for more information. So we sat down with our tail between our legs and went home and we talked about it. And at the same time I was doing a little project with our regional tourism organization 8 in Simcoe County, doing some video work on the Severn River. Then I started to think about video telling the story of where I travel. And we discussed putting a live feed webcam on the ship as we're traveling to let people see. And then it sort of spurred into, well, what if we use video in our website? And then I went back to this company and I said, I got a new idea. Let's go down the website road and integrate 9 short little 2-minute vignettes and work our website around a story we want to tell about our crew, about our history and our family, about where we go, about the journey that you're looking at selling. But the videos wasn't really to sell to a passenger. I wanted the videos to sell to the generation that supports our passengers. So their kids are sitting in the office, 55 years old, working away every day, and mom calls and says, I got this neat little offering here in the newspaper I'm reading about. Have you heard about the Kawartha Voyageur? So I want a website that when they go Kawartha Voyageur, I attract the 55-year-old to say, Mom, that looks like a great spot for you to go. And so that was sort of the mind frame of building our new website. It was a fantastic success. We've had huge accolades within our industry peers and within our partners along the waterway. And it's been very fascinating because now we're just beginning the job I started last year.
Right.
So now we're approaching the profile. We have 4 staff members that are actively tweeting out on a daily basis. Our Facebook, we're just sort of sending out sort of little vignettes here and along the way, watching how and where the demographics are of our followings. And so this is a year of us learning how to be the ones that are interchanging. And also we have put in place in our website, a team portal side to the website so that onboard operating crew have a file sharing, have our own little Facebook going on so that we can have multiple people able to actually get the company story on the same page. So it's become a very fascinating project.
Yeah, so it sounds like you've taken a more balanced approach to social media and marketing and advertising, keeping in consideration of who your customers are, who your clients are. How do you feel like you are keeping up with technology and social media? Do you think
by no means, and I don't think we need to totally keep up. I think we need to have a solid offering that is available on multiple platforms. So whether it's the use of a QR code on the side of the boat, or whether somebody's got their iPad, their old desktop sitting there, I think we have to be able to be absolutely solid on the offering. And as far as keeping up on the Instagram and the Snapchat moment to moment, no, I really don't think I need that much profile. I just need to ensure that we are a solid fixture on a sort of a stable area. So the use of, for us, an appropriate website that someone would Google from anywhere in the world and be able to interact with our website. So how it's written is very, very important, that it's able to be accessed through different devices. And also that there could be an interaction component. So if you're a staff member looking at our company, there's an employment section that is interactive with a sort of an entire area for an online application. If you're a passenger, prospectively looking at whether or not a cruise on July 23rd is available, there's they can't book that live time, but they can see that it's full, they can see that there's cabins available, they can interact with our office electronically, and so that person that's typing away and just wants to shoot it off their desk, so we're able to satisfy quite a lot. We're not into any e-commerce with our offering at this point. In the future, I would say this winter, you will see an e-commerce side for people that want to pick up a sweatshirt for Christmas present, a cookbook to send to a friend after they've been on the boat. They could go on, and there will be a sort of an e-commerce side to our website of what the offerings are from the ship.
You won't have a e-commerce related to the bookings?
No, I think we're going to hold off on that for a little bit yet.
Right.
Let me bring you back to the office side of our operation, Russ. And we have to be as capable. And truly, we're still just a small family business. And, setting up dynamic situations like e-commerce for cruises of this nature, that's an area that's just a little bit more than we want to go to.
Right.
And to be honest with you, most of our clientele are not e-commercing a cruise like this.
Right.
And that doesn't mean they're not investigating the offering through their children to be recommended, or that they're looking up themselves and watching a nice video or two. But for our clientele, which would be 72 and above, most of them would be hard-pressed to put that credit card on the table for a cruise of this nature.
So what I'm hearing from you is, right now, is your future is now.
Yeah.
You built this new strategy last year, and this is the future of that strategy coming into play.
And it's coming,
is that fair to say?
And most definitely, and we're expanding upon it from the aspect of our Facebook and our Twitter and things like that. And it's been very fascinating. So we're now really engaged with Parks Canada because we are traveling through one of their jewel facilities of Ontario, and so Parks Canada is ponying on our tweeting and the retweeting of the vistas that we have off the bow of this ship, because it's a platform that you can't get a picture from anywhere else on this waterway as you can get from the wheelhouse of the top deck. So we were really seeing how the partnerships are coming alive as we go out and engage with them.
Right. So, I had one more question for you, really, about the future. Given your strategy now, where do you see the future of social media affecting your business in 10 years, 20 years? How do you think that's going to
So after you get
play?
rid of all these wrinkles of sort of aligning all your offerings so that a newspaper ad or a brochure or your website, and once we get all of the font looking the same and the graphics looking the same, so there's someone recognizes the Ontario Waterway Cruises presentation, no matter on whether they're coming to a 45-minute presentation or they opened up the latest magazine of National Geographic, right? They'll know that's Ontario Waterway Cruises profile. So we're just at the process of making sure those alignments are all appropriate. Now, down the road, I really do see a fully interactive offering with our company. I also see it more offered with our partners and I think one of the most exciting things for 10 years or 20 years from now is the networking capability of regions, and we are part of huge visitor experiential opportunities along our canals, and whether they're backbone by, say, a region of Eastern Ontario or the Kawartha Lakes or Parks Canada or the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus or whatever the gathering is, I see 10 or 20 years from now that a number of us intermodally are assisting a client, whether they're from Kitchener or South Africa, satisfy their needs. And marketing of whether or not you're married and have 2 kids and you make X amount of dollars, I think that kind of information gathering is not the future. I think more where we're headed as a company is, what do you need, Russ, when you come to this area? Not just with me, but what are you after? Are you into the history? Are you into the culture? When you take a picture, are there people in it, or is it landscape? So if I can understand how you were born and what your needs are, then the partners I have in this area can step up to the plate to assist in your presentation. So when we come to a dam of Colonel By in Eastern Ontario of 1832, and you're into these historically significant pieces of our country, so Russ, I can't just tell you about that, you need to touch it. Mm-hmm. And you need to actually open the lock gate. Mm-hmm. So if I understand your needs in 10 or 20 years, then my partners, and I don't think it's going to take that long for this idea of sharing offerings. I think that we're on the edge of people realizing they're better off for them to work together.
Right.
And so I find the electronic world being able to share, not bombard you with stuff you don't need, but actually create a package that is more tailored to you.
Right.
Yeah.
And right now, social media is really, a lot of people are still figuring out how to use it, but from your point of view and your marketing, you feel the social media now and of the future will help you gain these partnerships.
Very much.
To not only help your customers, but help this whole area stay connected and stay working.
So in 2012, this area was hit by a drastic federal government deficit reduction action plan. It was a plan to assist the responsibility fiscally of our government, and they looked at this program on the Trent-Severn Waterway, and it was hit really hard. And it woke up a lot of people that had been just happy with this river in their backyard for 120 years. And it created a core group of people. I chair a working group called the Trent-Severn Waterway Working Group, and we just approached this project from a completely different perspective. So instead of going and saying to the federal government, like, you need to replace that wall because it generates revenue for our local municipality for boats to tie there overnight. Why is that the responsibility of the federal government? So we went the other way around. We went to the federal government and says, can you allow us to build this wall on your property? And, oh, by the way, you can have revenue from it and you can sell dockage from it, but we're going to put hydro in and we're going to put water on, because those are the needs of the boaters that are tying up there in now and in the future. They're not coming along with the pup tent on their little runabout anymore. Now their beer cooler and their air conditioning, it would be nice if they could plug their boat in. So we went with another approach starting in 2012, where we tried to partner with the federal government and take on the responsibility at other levels, provincially, municipally, within the business community, within the stakeholders of the region. What if we ponied up some offerings to try and help with this overall asset? it was a very fascinating time because the federal government had been so used to people jumping up and down, screaming at them that they are forgetting about this area, and it's the infrastructure is falling apart and going to kill somebody. And we stepped up and said, we don't actually need the money. We, as a community, have other ways of fundraising that infrastructure. And by the way, you know what? Like, go ahead and just go away and close the place. We'll still come up with a different idea. So it's been fantastic. Just across the way, we're looking at 450 feet of dock that's just been built with the local Community Development Corporation, the local Chamber of Commerce's, the City of Kawartha Lakes, and there it is. It's full tonight with boats plugged into hydro, and Parks Canada is getting revenue from those boats for the hydro, for the dockage, and Parks Canada hasn't spent a cent to build that dock. And I can show you municipalities. We've done this 6 places here in the last year and a half.
And as we go on in the future, and more, there's more and more concern about the environment, taking up land, farms going away, development of homes and whatnot. Those communications probably need to tighten up and grow as time goes on. Is that?
Yeah, this waterway is sort of in a unique space because there's a lot of significantly protected areas that are already there, and within our conservation authorities in the province of Ontario, there's a lot of overlap of jurisdiction that we're following, and it's kind of not in the course of this interview, but we're into a really complex designation of who's responsible for what. So all the surface of the water in this national waterway is owned by the province of Ontario, and all the seabed is owned by the federal government. So just in your travels in these few days, you've passed thousands of kilometers of shoreline where that interjurisdictional information transfer is crossing the boundaries of different levels of government. And this can be very perplexing as a property owner. What can I and can I not do? I want to build a dock. I have 12 people I have to go ask how to build the dock. And each one has a permit or a inspection regime. And so part of our work since 2012 with our working group is getting memorandums of understanding between the various levels of government to allow, don't worry about that, is to allow the actual job processes to be centralized. So yes, this is the government's responsibility federally, this is a provincial responsibility, this is a municipal obligation, but instead of sending the poor property owner, let's have a contact. And that contact's responsible for all that. This is where some of the peer-to-peer sharing of information. So if we get, because we span 386 kilometer and 39 municipality, then maybe if we get it working right in one small test area, then we can bubble that out. Right. And that's where social media can really come to assist us. Because anything you're going to change, Russ, with the way you interact with government, there's going to be an education program. So we can use social media to assist that education program. Right. And so I find this is a really exciting time to, personally, I'm not at the top of the capability list when it comes. I have young children that I quite often get to sync my various Apple devices properly. But, you know, at the same time, for my generation to just pretend that you can succeed without grappling with this arena, that's your head's in the sand. Yep.
Well, look, thank you so much, Marc.
I hope that was of help.
It was fantastic. It was very good. You just have such an interesting story, the background, the growth of your business, and how you are keeping it in check in terms of marketing and balancing it with social media, but also keeping the roots of your business.
And I think understanding that the limitations are not outside my office walls. The limitations are within my confines of control. So, you know, don't bounce out to somewhere that we can't respond. And I think that was a real valuable lesson with the chap last year to deny me sort of the excitement of engaging my partners. It's like, where am I sending my traffic? It was a great introduction to how to proceed.
Well, I find it very interesting being a customer of your services that you provide with this tour, and my parents are here as well. I find it interesting that in this huge world of social media, that where, like you said, you can reach to Florida and around the world at a press of a button, it comes down, zooms in all the way down to one person on this ship eating dinner in your dining room, and you're one-on-one with them. So I find that incredibly fascinating. It's the whole how it all got started. The history of it is fascinating, and really how you're changing and adapting your marketing to the times without going too far ahead, where you may not be able to come back.
Well, and I'd have to say, Russ, if you have any suggestions through this course, or your comrades in the course with you, by all means, my coordinates are very easy to attach, and I do not believe that I have it under control. And anybody that's has advice is, I am definitely willing to change.
Thank you, Mark, very much.
Appreciate it.